Welcome to Trial by Fire, an original podcast by Lexigate. In each episode, we sit down with women who built their own firms and redefined success on their own terms. Here's your host, Julia Hensel.
Welcome back to Trial by Fire. I'm your host, Julia Hensel, and I'm excited to talk today with Veronica Fink, who is the founder of True North Attorneys at Law in Las Vegas, which she opened in 2025. So, Veronica, welcome to Trial by Fire.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to hear your story. So, I would love to just hear a little bit more about your origin story. So, I know you came to your role through a very early history with Anthropology and a paralegal job. And so, I'd just love to hear what those two pieces of your background have brought into your journey of owning your own firm today.
Yeah, actually, I joke that this is the only thing I was ever supposed to do, and it really started from when I was young. So, my parents always really raised us kids with a real sense about what was right, what was wrong, what was justice about, and it kind of even expanded beyond that, how people live, values, ecosystems. I mean, I had such a beautifully well-rounded sense of the world, and I very much appreciated the fact that, like, my parents gave everything for their kids to have that. You know, my mother immigrated to this country. My dad was a farmer from Pennsylvania, and, you know, they met, they fell in love, and they created this beautiful life for their children to have more than what they had. And I can absolutely remember, you know, learning at, you know, on the floor at the feet of my parents, watching documentaries on Egypt and nature documentaries, and having these discussions about not so much even cases, but like fact patterns of, you know, what was going on in the world. And so growing up, all I ever wanted to be was an attorney. And even to the point where when I was in kindergarten, it might have been first grade, but like Mrs. Brown's class, my mom was a teacher's aide with us, and I remember so distinctly they asked us to draw out what we wanted to be, and a lot of policemen, a lot of firefighters, a lot of ballerinas, a lot of teachers. And I drew myself, my mom still has it, but I drew myself in a little suit with a briefcase, and I was like, I want to be an attorney.
Cool.
Like a 5 or 6 year old, I was like, I want to be an attorney. Needless to say, that was the only one, but I wanted to be an attorney. And so, you know, I make my way through school, and I just discover this love of history and science, along with the humanities of, like, you know, the social and psychological things that go into like what it is to be a person. And I went off to school and I ended up deciding I wanted to be Indiana Jones, apparently. And I went off to be Indiana Jones, and got my undergraduate degree in that. But it was always with the idea of this is a part of being an attorney, because you have to understand people. And
Yeah.
that anthropology is the study of man. And so I ended up doing that, and then eventually going into being a paralegal. I had a little side trip as a software engineer, but we don't talk about that. I don't love tech. I don't love tech. I still don't love tech. And thank goodness I have my right hand, my amazing assistant, who is like explains, hey, this is actually what we're going to do with it. So like, okay, that's great. So. But anyway, so I ended up going and becoming a paralegal, and I thought that was a very important step, at least for me, because I like seeing how things work before I launch into just the end version of something. So I started as a paralegal. I worked at some of the most prestigious firms as a paralegal in town, in Las Vegas, and it was great because that actually played a huge part in what I do day to day, because I've seen how some of the biggest firms do it. I see how some of the attorneys worked. I see how they lived their lives. I see how they delegate between assistants and roles and duties. Like, so I've had great models of business to look at, and that was a free education by just being able to watch and see and decide this is what would work for me, this is what would work maybe for me in 10 years. And even going back to that most amazing assistant, she's been my best friend for nearly 20 years because we started together as paralegals. And it's that wonderful ability to be able to start a sentence and the other person finish it. And because you just know each other. And I think that's super, super valuable. And I'm so blessed that had I not done that, I would not have met this person. And I would be, the beginning of this firm would be a very, very different feel, because I may have to start off with somebody, I may not have that like instant, oh yeah, I know where you're going. And know exactly how that person works. So, anyway, so I paralegal for in and out for maybe, I think, like 10 years or so. And I was in-house at UFC. I ended up working this case, so that exposed me to even more things, such as, you know, the larger electronic discovery, things that like you necessarily wouldn't get had I just gone from undergrad to law school to a firm. Like, I had a lot of different and experience in building that up, and I think that has been just nothing but useful. What I ended up doing once I decided to go to law school was go to law school, started off as a part-time student, continued to work for UFC at the time during the day, go to law school at night as a part-time student, and decide, oh, you know what, I can do both and I could do it faster. So I decided to shave a year off of that program, take as many credits as the ABA would allow, and finished a year early. And so, and then I went to go clerk for Justice Bell.
Awesome. And then I know you also have extensive experience on the defense side of things. And so I'd love to hear about that experience, and especially now how that shaped now that you're on the other side of the table. Like, are there any misconceptions that you think plaintiffs, attorneys who don't have that experience have of the defense side?
Yeah, actually, one of the biggest misconceptions I think there is it's an adversarial system, but we're not enemies. And that's probably the biggest thing, is everybody is there to advocate vigorously for their clients. And one of my most favorite mentors I ever had, Candace Carlion, very well known bankruptcy attorney throughout the country, very well respected. One of her favorite quotes from Shakespeare is basically, strive mightily as adversaries do, but eat and drink as friends. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I think people forget when you're on opposite sides. It's the person. These are stories about people. These cases are generally about people or their businesses or their lives. And there are people representing them. And everybody obviously has their role in that. And everybody, you hope, is playing by the same set of rules. They're being ethical. Does that happen all the time? Unfortunately, no. But that's probably the biggest misconception, is immediately like, this person is not a person at the other end. They don't have their same concerns, worried about their family, and go to bed, at night thinking about their cases. So that's one of the biggest things from the defense side that I learned, is everybody's here to get to the conclusion, the right conclusion, and that basically is based on the facts and how you argue your facts. Facts don't change. So that's definitely something that, I spent a lot of time on the defense side, is just like, how do we get to the right conclusion for both of our clients, and what does that mean? Because sometimes it means you go to trial. Sometimes that means you compromise. Sometimes it means different things. Sometimes you come up with creative solutions. I have definitely come up with a lot of creative solutions in my life. Some of them involved William Shatner. I can't really go into that too much because it's confidential. However, there's definitely been interesting things that you learn different things along the way, and one of my favorite things is being out of the box thinker.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like as you think about seeing, the other side as real people with real goals and real families and other things, that probably makes you even more creative in the types of solutions you can come up with. I'd love to fast forward a little bit and just hear about launching your own firm. So you launched in 2025. What was your inspiration? What made you kind of finally want to pull the trigger on starting your own firm?
Sheer anger. No, I'm kidding. So actually, there's a saying amongst a lot of folks who launch their own firm, I wish I had done it sooner, and that is definitely true. I just hit a point where, and it did, it was born out of frustration, but looking around, I was like, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I trust myself. And the biggest hurdle was knowing that it didn't have to be perfect before starting. I just needed to start. And it hasn't been an easy process. You definitely learn things as you go, and you pick the people that you work well with. Like I said, my assistant is one of my best friends, and even making sure that relationship, our friendship, is preserved because she is her own person also, and it's also a different dynamic to our friendship. So making sure that those two things are different and making sure you can work together. I think that has been one of the most important things as I've started, is a lot of these clients, in the same way that I would treat my best friend, their cases matter to me. We have a different relationship, but I care about them as a person, and I want to make sure they know that I think about them as a person. And as we get through to helping them get to the end of their case, really knowing that I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm respected, I'm cared about, and at the end, hopefully, also I have a result that makes them happy.
Absolutely. I'm curious, did anything, or what surprised you the most in your first year, good, bad, or otherwise?
The thing that surprised me the most, QuickBooks. No.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, accounting was definitely a learning curve on that one, but
I was the same way, just as a quick aside. So I own a marketing agency, and I was a business major, but I was not an accountant, and so I hadn't done much accounting. And then when I came to own LexiGate, I was doing QuickBooks, and anyway, I was like, I need to write a thank you note to my college accounting professor because of all the classes I took in college, 10 plus years ago. I actually remember a few things about accounting, and it's the only tangible skill I've ever learned that I've actually used. So anyway, I can commiserate with QuickBooks joys and challenges.
Yeah, learning the accounting side of it, the actual business side of it, has been a very different experience, and that's definitely been one of the steepest learning curves. But it's all been great. It's been wonderful. There's definitely been things that I'm like, oh, I know how to do that, and I know how to do that better. And then there's been things that I've just knocked out of the park right from the get-go. And, just giving yourself some grace and also holding yourself accountable. And I think those things are both really, really important in being a business owner. Also taking in the advice that comes to you, and that's something I think I've been stupidly fortunate enough to have are some great mentors from the jump. You know, going even back to when I was a paralegal, like I mentioned, Campus Caroline was a fantastic mentor. I've had Justice Bell has been a wonderful mentor. I mean, it's just numerous. I was the inaugural grantee for Attorneys in Motion, and Michelle has been a wonderful mentor. She's been actually helping a lot more on the business side and like how to advertise and hold yourself out, which is something which is very foreign to me, because when you're on the defense side, the insurance company gives
The
you
work comes to you.
Yeah, they come to you, and on the plaintiff side, especially in such a saturated market as we have in Las Vegas, I don't have $100,000 per month to advertise, but that's okay, because although I'm basically word of mouth, people have heard of my reputation and they know I get it done, and I am very fortunate with the amount of business that I generate. So kind of, then deciding, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to scale? How fast am I going to scale? What do I want this firm to look like in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Because one of the most beautiful things about being a firm, it's yours. You make the decisions, you decide the direction, you hire the people. You are then in part responsible for their paycheck, their dreams, their aspirations, their happiness at work, and that is all incredibly important as an owner and as,
Veronica, I love what you just shared about how, when you have your own firm, it's yours and you can make it what you want and kind of have the firm have the values you want and whatnot. And so I would just love to talk about that a little bit more. Specifically, one of the things I know your firm really values is giving back to the community. And I think you mentioned maybe that's something you even did before you even earned your first dollar as a firm. So could you share a little bit more about some of the ways you're involved in the community?
Yeah, so you're 100% right. So I made it from day one that if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that I am giving back to the community that is giving to me. And we just celebrated our first year in business, and what we did was we went and cleared out the Henderson animal shelter, basically their animals, and we were happy to report that all of those animals got adopted. We were very, very happy to sponsor their fees. As you probably see, we've got...
Yeah, no, I love this. We have visual evidence right here of your own little kitty. That's amazing.
Our family is definitely a lover of animals, and I also like to put spotlights on other causes that don't necessarily get a lot of attention from, so that we can continue to give back, so we can maximize, all of our power. So, for example, I like partnering with the Natural History Museum, where, I know that some of our efforts goes toward helping over 100,000 children get exposed to science and natural history, which is, again, an absolute love of mine, but doesn't necessarily get a lot of funding, particularly right now.
Yeah, that's great, and such a great way to combine, what you're passionate about, and it's very genuine. It's not just, oh, I'm gonna put a stamp on giving back to the community. It's things I can tell you really care about. On that note, I heard you're also, you have been at the beginning of starting a 501c3 for domestic violence survivors. So I'd love to just hear more about your passion about that area.
Yeah, and so it's a little bit on the back burner right now, just as we kind of ramp up and make sure everything is in place for the firm. But that has been something that I've been very, very passionate about. Is one of the things that abusers do in order to help assert control is to take away opportunities, and it's typically women, but from their partners, the ability to earn a living. and they isolate, they take away financial opportunities, educational opportunities. And one of the great things in Nevada is we have a need, specifically in Las Vegas, we have a need for quality legal assistants and paralegals. And I happen to know how to do that. And again, everything is a beautiful full circle moment in my life where I'm like, I take this experience that I've had and make it do good for 20, 30, 40 people. So I have this background in being a paralegal. And there's typically 2 programs in town on how to get like a degree in that or certificate in that. But they cost money. What I aim to do is basically create a program where it's like, listen, I have all these firms that all my wonderful friends either own or work at, know somebody at that could use somebody. I want to set up basically a program where it's like, I will teach you how to do this. It costs you nothing. You just have to show up and be trained, and I will help get you placed within these firms. And these firms will, not only benefit from having an extra set of hands, but you may have a job at the end of it. And you get some real life experience that you could put on a resume and while you're earning. And hopefully, like I said, it turns out to be a career, because it was a wonder, although it was not my end goal, it was a wonderful career for me. There were so many things that being a paralegal gave to me. I joke it made me very good at civ pro in law school, because I already knew a lot of the rules and what have you that people, are learning for the first time in law school. I'm like, I already know this. This is old hat for me. So that's really the goal with the 501 with the nonprofit. So that's again where we're going. So
that's amazing. And what a wonderful blend of all of the different, your passion areas and how you've had experience in the past and the connections you have. It feels like a really perfect fit. So that's wonderful.
No, I think so. And like I said, I'm very excited to, move into the next phase of our firm in order to like get that started, I like to say, I have all the energy in the world, but there's only so many hours in the day. So
absolutely. Speaking of, would love to hear about life outside of work. And I know for many business owners, it can be challenging to find work-life balance. So I'm curious, do you believe in the concept of work-life balance? Do you believe it's a myth? And if you do believe in it, how do you seek after it?
I don't understand what you mean. What is this work-life balance? Life outside of work? No, actually, it's going to sound so odd, but I really feel that my life has gotten better since I decided to open my own firm, which is a weird thing to say, because there's definitely a lot of time and effort that has gone into it. But there's something that being your own business owner gives to you that it's so fulfilling that although it's a lot of hard work, and I have a family, I have kids, I clearly have animals, I think that it's given me, there's like pride of ownership. That's probably like the best way. There's some pride of ownership that fulfills me, and I feel that with that like little bit of confidence, I just have blossomed. And so although I definitely spend a lot of time doing that, my work-life balance has actually gotten better, because I absolutely make it a priority where I take a couple hours every single week and I'm working on things that Pilates, or I'm taking a stained glass class, or I am doing archery, or something. Again, it's always going to be something zany, but something that makes me a whole person outside of work, so that when I come back to work, that I really truly understand my clients, because you have to be able to connect with your clients and understand what makes them a whole person. Because if you don't understand what makes them a whole person, you can't really argue their case for them to explain what they've lost. And so not only do I feel the self-care, that's what I guess we'd call it, but the self-care, the investment, it's good for me as a mother, it's good for me as an attorney, it's good for me as a firm owner. It's good all around. Like I kind of told you how it matters, because that's how I can argue my client's case to really explain to them to a jury, potentially what they've lost. But also, if somebody that, one of my staff members needs something, I understand. Where it's like, you know what? I can pick this up, or I could redelegate this. Right now, you need to go take a mental health walk, or you need to run an errand and go to the store or the post office, whatever. We've got this. There's nothing that is going to collapse. And I think that's a really important skill, because you're able to maneuver and be very fluid. That's probably one of the biggest challenges, is knowing not everything has to be perfect when you start. And it doesn't have to be perfect as you continue. So,
Absolutely.
And even being able to learn those skills even as an attorney or as an employer. That has been something that has made me a better mother, even, is that's okay, kiddo. You want that? You want to dye your hair bright red? Okay, that's fine. It's good. Wish I could pull that off. I can't pull that off. But letting your kid develop into the person that they're meant to be, versus whatever preconceived notion that you had, when they were born. And embracing and loving your kid for truly who they are. And that's just been fantastic, because I know my kid can come to me and talks to me on a level that I don't know if other parents get, but I always joke that she's the Rory to my Lorelai, if anybody watches Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, I'm just wrapping up the 7th final season of Gilmore Girls. I've been watching it over the past year.
Oh, isn't it great? I think I've watched that show 15 times from start to finish. It's a beautiful show, but I love that my kid can tell me things, and I have a great relationship with my kid. And in part, it's just gotten better as I become a business owner, because I've learned to loosen up's the wrong word, but I've learned to with the flow a little bit, where it's you know what, I got you. Even as you and I know that I had something scheduled at 3 with my kid, and it got bumped up to 1, and it's having to be hey, can we do this with a hard stop at this? And just knowing that, hey, the world is not going to end, and either the other person will be able to move with you, or they won't, and if not, what your next thing is. So
Absolutely.
That's been really, really helpful. So there's also a little bit of having grace when you don't quite meet the mark on something, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing I think coming, I guess with balance, is sometimes you may not meet your kids' expectations. Sometimes you may not meet a client's expectations. Sometimes you may not meet your employees' expectations. But if you're kind of moving, you tend to, it's magical, but you tend to hit it most of the time. And it's great.
Yeah.
And it all really, truly starts, just kind of bring it full circle, it all really, truly starts with taking care of yourself first.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. I feel sometimes as a business owner, an entrepreneur, it can be really easy to dwell on what's not perfect. And so I love what you said about, having grace with yourself, and that allows you to have grace with those around you as well. So maybe just for some parting shots here, would love to hear, as kind of closing wisdom, what advice you would have if another woman came to you and was thinking about starting her own firm. What is some of the guidance you would give her?
Ask yourself first, why? Why do you want
Okay.
your own firm? Because if you don't know at your core why you want something,
Mm,
you won't be able to build from there. You know, you have to know what the end goal, the end vision is going to be and your motivation in order to get there. And if you are like, I want this is the only thing I want to eat, dream, sleep for the next couple of years as you're building it, and you know that, the rest is just mechanics. And that's the other thing too, I think I've already said it, but it doesn't have to be perfect in order to start.
mm,
And then the other thing is there are so many wonderful mentors out there who have already started, who are
mm,
going through the process or are just starting, who will help you, who will explain things, who will guide you. And it's absolutely out there for folks if you just ask. And that is one of the biggest things. It's just I've been so blessed with all the people who I can refer to and ask, hey, how do I do this? Or what would you suggest? And help comes from unexpected places. One of the reasons I kept hearing it over and over again from plaintiffs' counsels was like, you know, you'd be really good on this side. And I'd be like, oh,
mm,
shucks, no, you're being too kind. But there was an opposing counsel, doesn't even live in the state, but like I
mm,
think it was really when he said it was like, you know, you'd be really good at this. And there's just something I'm like, you know
mm,
what, I would be. And like I said, I've mentioned quite a few mentors, and those were all women, but like even finding our advocates, and that's probably one of the last things I
mhm,
would want to like kind of leave us on
mhm,
is like there are folks out there who are not women that are wonderful allies and advocates of women
mm,
and would give you their insight in how to do that. And I've been stupidly fortunate to have so many wonderful advocates, men and women, who are absolutely there to want to see you succeed. Like they're not going to be the people who want to hold you back because it benefits
mhm.
them. They will take you
Yeah.
for as long as they get you, and they will help you grow. And you have
Mm,
to find your tribe. You have to find your people because sometimes you're not in the right room, and don't be held back by being in the wrong room. Like I've been
mhm,
in the wrong room, and it's awful. And the second you leave that room, not only is it like a weight off of your shoulders and your chest, it you
mm,
are appreciated and are able to grow. And
mm.
like like I said, like the second I was out of some of those rooms, it was nothing but the sky was the limit.
Wow.
And I can say that like with my personal experience, when I was out of those rooms and in front of in the correct rooms, I would hear back from other people in the community, do you know how much your boss appreciates you because he raves about you?
Wow.
And these are two other attorneys that have been practicing 40 years. Your boss appreciates you. He knows that you're
Mm,
really good. And that was not the feedback I was getting when I was in the wrong room. So
mm.
find your tribe.
Yeah.
And to women who are just starting, I mean, to the extent that I am helpful, you can absolutely reach out to me. I don't care where you are. I could obviously limit my experience to Nevada, but more than happily share whatever wisdom that I have because I've been fortunate enough to have people who have shared their 2 cents with me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, what a wonderful note to end on. Thank you so much for that generous offer. We will definitely have your website in the show notes in case people want to research you more and learn more about your journey and reach out. So, Veronica, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you.